नमस्ते, आप सभी का स्वागत है आज की इस परिचर्चा में। और हम आज बात करेंगे एक ऐसी संस्था की जो कि भगवान के बाद संभवतः सबसे बड़ी मानी जाती थी, या कई लोग तो ये भी मानते थे कि भगवान जो है उन्हीं के माध्यम से बोलता है। उसका नाम था हार्वर्ड। लेकिन आजकल तो हार्वर्ड को सभी जूते मार रहे हैं। आइए, हमारे साथ हैं राजीव मल्होत्रा जी और विजयलक्ष्मी जी। राजीव जी,
नमस्ते।
हार्वर्ड गेटिंग स्पैंक्ड लेफ्ट राइट एंड सेंटर।
नमस्ते Sanjay ji, and great to have both me and Vijaya on the same show. मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि हार्वर्ड के बारे में हमने अपनी पुस्तक में बहुत कुछ क्रिटिसाइज किया, हार्वर्ड को बहुत अटैक किया।
गंगा,
ये जो पुस्तक है स्नेक्स इन द गंगा, के लोगों को मालूम होगा, ये करीब 1.5-2 साल हुए निकली थी। तो इस पर हमने काफी 20-25 साल से रिसर्च की है हार्वर्ड के ऊपर में। हार्वर्ड में बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, हार्वर्ड में बहुत ही प्रॉब्लम है। लेकिन जब हम उनकी बदनामी करते थे, उनको क्रिटिसाइज करते थे, कितना डेटा देते थे, फिर भी लोग कहते थे कि अरे क्या हार्वर्ड को तो क्रिटिसाइज नहीं करना चाहिए, हार्वर्ड में तो क्या क्या लोग पढ़े लिखे हैं, ये फलाना फलाना, ये सब हार्वर्ड का है। हाँ, सब गॉड ऑफ एकेडेमिया। और उन्होंने सारे गवर्नमेंट्स में, सारी दुनिया की गवर्नमेंट्स में उन्होंने अपने लोग बिठाए हुए हैं। और हार्वर्ड वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम को चलाता है, यूनाइटेड नेशंस में, सारे यूएन में टॉप लोग जो हैं, यूएस गवर्नमेंट में, सब जगह हार्वर्ड के लोग पढ़े हुए लिखे फैले हुए हैं। तो उसकी बदनामी तो कोई कर ही नहीं सकता। लेकिन हमको ये मालूम था कि हार्वर्ड बहुत बायस्ड है, एंटी हिंदू है, हिंदू फोबिक है, एंटी इंडिया है, बहुत लेफ्टिस्ट है, प्रो इस्लामिस्ट है। तो ऐसी बातें जब हम बोलते थे तो कोई मानने को तैयार नहीं था। अब नई बात ये हुई है पिछले एक हफ्ते में कि अब ये अमेरिका में लोग जो हैं, बिलियनियर लोग हैं, वो हार्वर्ड को क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं। ये नई खबर है, इसलिए लोग अब हमारे पास आ रहे हैं, कह रहे हैं जी आप तो ठीक ही कह रहे थे इतने साल। ये नई बात है। आई थिंक दिस इज न्यूज वर्दी एंड वर्थ डिस्कसिंग।
और जो मेन रीजन है वो इसलिए है कि इसके जो मेरे ख्याल से जो फैकल्टी है उसने स्टूडेंट ग्रुप्स को या तो प्रोवोक किया या खाली सपोर्ट किया। ऐसे लोग जो हमास की सपोर्ट कर रहे थे और इसराइल को गलत बता रहे थे। Am I right?
Right. So the brief background for the listeners. So when this Israel-Palestine war broke out, essentially, Harvard has been grooming many students and student organizations, and the faculty are also pro-Hamas. But many Americans did not know about this. And so just a backlash of this. So there were over 30 student groups who were supporting Hamas openly, and many Jewish corporate leaders found that anti-Semitic, and were shocked by the Harvard student groups. So first there was Bill Ackman, he's a big hedge fund CEO. So he essentially said, I want all the names of these students who are openly supporting a terrorist organization like Hamas, and I want their students, so that I make sure me and my other fellow CEOs don't hire them. We want to blacklist them. So blacklist karna chahte the wo students ko, because of the anti-Jewish sentiment. Now, but the Harvard said we will not release any of the names. Now, so that was one. So the CEOs all ganged up and said we'll blacklist these people. Even Playboy cut ties with a porn star named Mia Khalifa for cheerleading.
Yes, that was quite a news. Yes.
Then the Wexner Foundation. So Wexner is another big business magnate. So he essentially said he was appalled by this, and he was going to look at defunding Harvard. So there's a whole defunding Harvard movement. And then, of course, there was a truck which was going around Harvard, which was doxing essentially, displaying students who had supported Hamas. For example, a lot of Indian students, like there's a young woman by the name of Shraddha Joshi, who I think runs Gunguru or whatever. So those names were all put out. Now there's a Jewish site called canary.org or something. They all the anti-Semitic professors and students and people in the media, they all the time put out names. So they have already updated their databases. And then the Israeli billionaires who were supporting the Kennedy School, who were on the board of a Kennedy School, I think called Aiden and Batya Ofer. So they said, we want to resign from the board of the Kennedy School. And they resigned, and they're cutting funding. Now, this has had spillover to other Ivy Leagues. For example, Wharton, you had Mark Rowan, who was publicly telling people that all the donors saying, hey, just cut your donations. Let's stop right here and reassess what we are funding. Right. And then, we had, organizations like the Gunguru, which is fully Indian, so-called South Asian students, all suddenly getting scared that, our jobs are going to be at stake, and they started withdrawing. So within a matter of a few days, all the people who originally signed this pro-Hamas, petition now withdrew. So that is the power of the CEOs, the power of money, and the power of the Jewish people. So kudos to them.
So इसका मतलब ये है कि जब जूस को अटैक किया, जब हिंदूज को अटैक कर रहे थे, और हम उसके बारे में लोगों को बहुत बोल रहे थे, हमारे को सपोर्ट बहुत कम मिली, वर्बली मिली कई, बट जो बिलियनियर्स हैं हमारे, वो तो उनको फंड करते ही गए, अभी तक नहीं रुके। पॉलिटिशियंस ने हमको सपोर्ट नहीं दी, प्राइवेटली आके कहा हाँ आप बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, मीडिया ने सपोर्ट नहीं दी, पब्लिक ने भी कहा क्यों आप उनको लड़ रहे हो, आप लिव योर लाइफ, एंजॉय, उनके पीछे क्यों लगे हुए हो। हमारी बात 30 साल किसी ने इतनी नहीं सुनी जितनी पिछले एक हफ्ते में सुनी है, क्योंकि अब जूस उनके पीछे लगे हुए हैं। उन्होंने जूस को ये अटैक किया जैसे आप हिंदू को करते रहते थे, जूस को एक बार ऐसी अटैक किया, हमास को सपोर्ट किया। जूस ने पॉलिटिशियंस को बोला, मीडिया CNN को बोला कि यू हैव टू सपोर्ट अस और एल्स। हाँ, यूज ने अपने जो डोनर्स हैं, बिलियनियर्स जो है वहां फंडिंग देते हैं, उनको बोला। उनकी लॉबी इतनी ऑर्गेनाइज्ड है, जैसी हमारी लॉबी तो है, बोलते रहते हैं लोग, सब लोग अपने आप को वांट टू बिकम फेमस एंड से आई एम चैंपियनिंग हिंदुइज्म, कुछ करते वरते नहीं है। हमारी लॉबी में कुछ नहीं हुआ जो जूस ने किया हार्वर्ड के अगेंस्ट एक हफ्ते में, हम 30 साल में नहीं कर पाए। दिस इज वेरी बिग थिंग। सो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि जूस ने ये किया। I don't always agree with anybody or Jews or anybody, but they have done a good job. हमारे लिए भी अच्छा हुआ। और अब ये उसका ये फायदा है कि अब हम हिंदू फोबिया को, एंटी जूस के जो एंटी जूस बोलता है उसके पीछे उसको डंडा लगेगा। हार्वर्ड को डंडा लग रहा है, यूपेन को लग रहा है, स्टैनफोर्ड को लग रहा है, सब जगह जो भी एंटी जू बोल रहा है उसको डंडा लग रहा है। तो हम उसको उस एंटी जू के साथ ही हम हिंदू फोबिया को जोड़ रहे हैं, कह रहे हैं कि जो हिंदू फोबिया कर रहा है उसको भी डंडा लगना चाहिए। दिस इज अब ये हो रहा है कि जो हमारे लोग पहले डरे हुए थे, I got so many calls in the last 3-4 days. One lady from Florida says, Jews are doing this. I said, you should have been doing it for us. She said, no, but we can't do it. मैंने कहा, why can't you do it? She says, my Jewish friends are doing it. मैंने कहा, then you also do it. Shame on you. अब हम लोगों को ऐसे कह सकते हैं, ये बात।
जी बिल्कुल डेफिनेटली। ये तो आई थिंक इट इज अ बिग मोमेंट एंड वी शुड पिगीबैक ऑन इट, देयर इज नो डाउट।
And it's not, Sanjay ji, it's not just, we very openly talked about Mahindras and Mittals, all of that. But there are even other big donors. For example, people may not have heard of Bharat Desai and Neeraja Desai, who are behind the Desai Sethi Foundation. And what they do is the DS Foundation essentially, they fund public service. They have a public service fellowship where they are giving fellowships to Indian civil servants. So the Harvard Kennedy School essentially created this fellowship, and for example, they bring in an ex-army man with 2-3 decades of service in the army. His name is Mukul Saxena, and they say that they bring him in, and he's doing research. He's a sympathizer of the Rohingya refugees, and how the Indian army has been really brutal with the Rohingya refugees, and how we should let more of them in the name of human rights. Now, this is the kind, and then the same guy is now installed as a faculty member in the Kautilya School of Public Policy in Hyderabad. Now, we talk about Ashoka and these things like that, but it's even more pervasive. So Harvard has done so much damage to, now the Jews are realizing it, but to India, and continues to do this kind of damage, funded by people like the Desais and the Sethis, whom I just mentioned. And this is apart from the Mittals, the Bajajes, the Mahindras.
So हार्वर्ड ने अपनी अलमनाई के साथ मिलकर, जो हार्वर्ड के ग्रेजुएट हैं, उनकी वर्ल्ड वाइड एक तरह की अलमनाई एसोसिएशन है, which is the most powerful group in the world. Because once you have got any degree of any kind, bachelor, master, any kind level from Harvard, you are permanently part of Harvard alumni. You get a long-term, Harvard email ID. You are welcome to all their alumni events. Worldwide, उनके chapters हैं, दिल्ली में, बॉम्बे में, लंदन में, जहाँ भी जाओ, Harvard Association होती है, बहुत prestigious. And you are a member of the most powerful club. ये anti-elitism की बात करते हैं, खुद ही most elitist लोग यही हैं. And they are एक दूसरे को हेल्प करते हैं. गवर्नमेंट जॉब मिल जाती है, मीडिया में जॉब मिल जाती है, पॉलिटिकल पावर मिल जाती है. और हार्वर्ड के इंस्पायर्ड थिंक टैंक्स बहुत सारे हैं. जैसे वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम हार्वर्ड का ही एक तरह का ब्रांच है. कैनेडी स्कूल का ही निकला. कैनेडी स्कूल गिव बर्थ टू वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम. सिमिलरली ये जो काउंसिल ऑन फॉरेन रिलेशंस है न्यूयॉर्क में, ये जितने भी ऐसे थिंक टैंक्स हैं, ये मोस्टली especially democratic or left-wing type think tanks, if Harvard products. Harvard is very left-wing. So they have become sort of the intellectual, I call it the woke madrasa. Harvard is the woke madrasa.
And with links to the deep state.
They are, that is correct. They are the woke madrasa. वहाँ पर लोगों को, they are not taught how to be logical and analytical and look at both sides and whatnot. They are taught a particular ideology, how to promote that ideology, the way you would have any dogmatic school, any brainwashing. This is a very sad thing that has happened. And I have stuck my neck out. I've put my whole thing on the line, my whole life on the line, spending everything I have to on this fight. I need help. I need more people to join. And I'm so happy Jews have started attacking Harvard on the same principle, that Harvard is bogus. They are not giving both sides. They are not giving both sides of the view, and there are some videos where 5,000 to 8,000 Harvard students are in the main campus shouting slogans to bring down Jews and Israel and promoting Hamas. I don't know if you've seen that in the last week.
And it's just not World Economic Forum. They also are behind big international NGOs like Amnesty International. For example, the Kennedy School has something called the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy. And very frequently they bring people like Salil Shetty, who used to be the Amnesty International's CEO or president or one of the
his Soros man, is it?
He's a Soros man. He is a Soros man, and he's brought in often to talk about the Kashmir issue, the Article 370, the revocation of that, and then he even spoke about COVID. During COVID times, he talked about how the government of India was discriminating against Muslims in terms of healthcare. So these are the subjects that he talks about, at the Kennedy School in the Carr Center for Human Rights. Now, the head of the Carr Center is a woman by the name Sushma Raman. Sushma Raman used to work for the Ford Foundation and Open Societies before that, Ford Foundation. And she was actually, the government of India had a case against Ford Foundation because of her policies, because of her involvement with Teesta Setalvad and that Javed, whatever her husband is, right? Ahmed.
Javed Akhtar.
Her husband or boyfriend.
Oh, Javed Akhtar, my good friend.
So this Sushma Raman, who was head of Ford India, was actually brought into that case and got fired from Ford. But this is a badge of honor. So what does Harvard do? Harvard hires her as the head of the Carr Center for Human Rights. So people who are in the Breaking India team actually get rewarded by Harvard by getting very prestigious positions, like being the head of the Carr Center for Human Rights at Harvard. So these are not small things that they do. They reward these people, and they have give these kinds of people access to media, to prestigious venues, to think tanks. so that they can carry on their Breaking India agenda with full force.
But to give you other tentacles, indirect, Harvard se jo shuru hota hai doesn't stay in Harvard, it goes everywhere. So ORF, which is very prestigious in India, and it is considered very.
I know. They conduct the Raisina dialogues every year.
Raisina dialogues, and all the government goes there and whatnot. Of course, they boycott our book. We tried to get our book in. No way. They didn't want to discuss it because we're criticizing the kind of people who support them. Just go to their website. Among 9 people who are on the board of advisors, only 2 are Indians. Very interesting. They're supposed to represent the Indian point of view, but there are only 2. Then if you look at funding, which they have to disclose by law, they have got a website on which they have foreign funding and Indian funding. Other than Reliance, which is the funding source, most of the money comes from Ford Foundation, these different American foundations, Fulbright Foundation, these kind of people, Bill Gates Foundation, Omidyar.
These are all American deep state.
This is the kind of funding I put out a tweet, I think in the last 5-6 days, I put out a tweet on my Twitter handle where I've shown this is their board of advisors, this is the domestic Indian funding, this is the international funding.
I retweeted it, I remember.
Yeah, and people should go and look at that. ORF in broad daylight, they are dependent on these kind of people. We are fighting, spending our whole life sticking our neck out and fighting against the Breaking India forces. और हमारे लोग उनको invite कर रहे हैं और उनका dialogue है, उनको खुशामद, just to please them and impress them. They are whining, dining, promoting these guys. And anyone who stands up like us and criticizes them, banned, you're blocked, cancelled, not allowed. This is the state of affairs inside India. And Harvard is the sort of the head of the snake where all this is being created. This is a very serious situation. It is not just some conspiracy theory we dreamt up. It is not too big, sensational. And thank God for the Jews. They are now fighting Harvard. So I'm saying very good. Thank you so much.
Yes, I think we should either join them or whoever can muster enough support should join them, support them. And also, I believe I saw an exchange between you and Asha Jadeja Motwani, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, where we were talking about Ajanta Subramaniam and Suraji Engde, the main anti-India force within Harvard.
Yes.
Within Harvard. And I believe they don't have a tenure professorship, and they've been, Ajanta has probably been removed. Is it correct?
No. They're still there, but they're I mean, the thing is, when the heat is on, they're low profile, but they're still there. It's very difficult. Harvard sticks to its people, and they are not alone. You see, baat ye hai ki if I fight, I'm alone. If people hit me, there's no big organization or a big network that's going to come and help me out. Okay, if you're Sanjay, if they come after you, you got to fight for yourself. You know that. It is not like there is some big huge, but these people are networked. The big institution of Harvard come to defend them. They'll put lawyers, they'll put public relations, they'll have a conference, they'll give them the podium, they'll do all that for their own people. So it's not easy to bring them down.
And it's just not Harvard, right? Harvard people who either get educated at Harvard, trained at Harvard, they go to, like, for example, Ashutosh Vashne is a Harvard guy who's in Brown, who controls the Watson Institute at Brown, again doing the same work. And again, the Watson Institute at Brown is being, I think there's a Desai or somebody who is funding it. 10 million recently, an NRI gave Ashutosh Vashne's the Watson Institute $10 million as a gift. So again, funded by big money, funded by Indians. These are names that people do not know. They are not like the Ambanis and the Mahindras, but there are other very rich people who are funding these things. And when basically Harvard, after all this backlash from the Jewish CEOs, Harvard did not say anything. And then the Harvard president put out a little video show saying that they support free speech, which is totally bunkum, because now
That's free
free
speech.
speech,
That this reminds me
you
of
have to let
Trudeau.
the children, I mean, the youngsters have a place to voice their opinions and have freedom of thought and expression. And it's a shame, because and now everybody, even in America, realizes that this is the left will decide when to cancel, whom to cancel, and when they want to cancel somebody, they'll call it misinformation, disinformation, and we talk about that extensively in the book. Subramaniam Swamy, and maybe Rajiv ji can also talk about his own cancellation with Harvard.
So I was the first Indian to start funding Harvard. There was no Mahindra, none of these guys existed. They were not that big billionaires in those days anyway. I'm talking about 90s. I started funding Harvard. We funded for many years in a row something called Indology Roundtable, annual Indology Roundtable. 70, 80 people from India, some from Pakistan, some from Afghanistan, some from various European countries who were students of ancient Indian history, this whole Harappan, Aryan, all of that, Sanskrit. They used to come at our expense, and they would have a 3-day conference, and it was called the Harvard Indology Roundtable. And I learned a lot on what the biases are, which way they are going, who's for, who's against. I got a first-hand information. That's where I got to be very close to and very friendly with Michael Witzel and with Diana Eck, all these kind of people. Then we funded a visiting professor, Arvind Sharma from McGill. He became the Hinduism professor at Harvard. We funded his salary. It's a 6-figure in dollars. Then we funded Ashoka Klushkar as a visiting professor again. So we funded all these programs, and many, many others we funded. And that is when I got into close contact, because I'm very hands-on. And if I'm funding something, I'm going to really put my time into it and read everything and engage them and argue. I found that the Harvard establishment was not open to new ideas, was not open to healthy criticism, was not open to interrogation and cross-examination from people like me. They would first try to say, no, you're so wealthy, or so giving us money, you should not be getting involved. We'll do all the work, we'll praise you, we'll send you a thank you letter. And they were very good about PR, promoting me on campus, giving a fancy dinner in my honor, all those kind of nonsense they used to do. And I wasn't interested in that, because I'm very hands-on. So I said, look, all that is fine, but I really brought this money here to improve the profile of my civilization. I want to understand. So I got into detailed arguments with their people, and they didn't like that. So then they wrote a thing to one of my people saying, we love Infinity Foundation because it's funding us, but we do not like Rajiv Malhotra. And this guy told me that, so imagine basically they're saying कि आपका पैसा चाहिए और आप भाग जाएं. You just give us your money and get out. We don't want you to interfere. This is what they're saying. So that is how I had a falling apart with them. And then they started canceling me. And then we stopped funding them. So I have a very long experience at Harvard. Much more recently, Vivek Agnihotri got cancelled. He went there, they cancelled him. They cancelled so many other people. Subramaniam Swamy had been teaching economics at Harvard for a long time, and he is himself a PhD product from Harvard. He's co-published with the Nobel laureate, so he was a well-established guy. He made a statement in India that Indian Muslims should acknowledge that their ancestors were Hindus. Now, I don't know what's so wrong with that. I mean, well, who else were they? I mean, they were not Arabs. They didn't come from the sky. They were Hindus. Most Indian Muslims will acknowledge that their ancestors were Hindus. So what is nothing negative about it? I mean, because Islam wasn't there long time back. And so before that, those people were Hindus. So nothing insulting about it. But because the Indian Muslims...
It's a factual narration.
And Harvard should have said, this is a very interesting point he's made. It's created a controversy in India. Some Muslims don't like to be reminded of that. So what do you think? They should have had debates, discussions, teach people how to think. They should have used this as an opportunity to think. And whether they concluded that Subramaniam Swamy is right or wrong is not the point. They should be taught to how to think for themselves. Instead, they cancelled him because the network of such radical people of Indian origin who are sitting in Harvard is so powerful. There was no due process. He was not given the opportunity, a warning, an opportunity to defend himself, to respond, nothing. He was just told that you are no longer in the course catalog, your name is out. That's how he was told. This is total disgrace for any due process, any democracy, any free thinking. And Harvard has the audacity to say that we promote free thinking.
No, and not only that, there's a professor by the name of Roland Fryer, is a black African-American professor of economics. And he came the very hard way. He was essentially, he had a very tough childhood and then didn't do anything in his teenage years, and suddenly went to an economics class. And then, that sort of lit his, passion for economics, and then studied and then became a Harvard professor. A great story of an African-American man. And he started writing about anti-woke ideas about, black crime and education system, things like that in America, which did not go with the narrative that Harvard was promoting. So they got Roland Fryer into a case of sexual harassment or something, and essentially canceled him that way. So this, there are documentaries about this. So it's just not Indians; it's even African Americans whom they so-called, are trying to uplift the marginalized in the US. They do that to them also if they are not with this whole woke agenda. So,
and also remember that Harvard was the center of this whole movement, which the Supreme Court knocked down, the movement that said that they'll put a quota on how many Asians can get in on merit. Because Asians in STEM education were doing better, very well. Harvard, in fact, said that if we were to totally rely on merit, 44%, they calculated 44% of the undergraduates would be Asian. And they put a cap on 20% or something like that. They did not want so many Asians because it would be too many Asians. So this is a racism. So they came up with this idea that they have to bring up other people and put a cap on the Asians and whatnot, and accuse Brahmins and all that stuff. So this is a political thing, that Harvard is all into identity politics. And the sad thing is that Harvard has produced many of the congressmen and senators now in the Democratic Party. And even those who are not themselves Harvard products, like Biden and Kamala Harris, they have interns, they have people on their team who are Harvard products. So the Harvard ideology on a very large scale permeates American politics and many other institutions. So the power of Harvard through other institutions goes worldwide.
Now, this
would it be just a minute, Vijay ji? Would it be right? क्या ये सही होगा कहना कि ये पूरी की पूरी जो आइडियोलॉजी है, which may call Harvard ideology या overall woke ideology, इसको कई झटके लग गए हैं, 2-3 झटके लग गए. अभी ये जो हो रहा है ये तो लेटेस्ट है. इसके पहले जो अभी आपने कहा सुप्रीम कोर्ट से झटका लग गया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स से, और साथ में ये SB 403 वाला भी हो गया. तो आपको लगता है कोई इनका रीथिंक होगा क्या?
नहीं, रीथिंक नहीं होगा, बट सी सोल्यूशन, जो लोग ओल्ड टाइमर्स हैं, जो एस्टैब्लिश लोग हैं, जो बुजुर्ग हैं, जो वहां पर बहुत, द पीपल हु आर एस्टैब्लिश्ड एंड रनिंग हार्वर्ड आर नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज, बिकॉज वो चेंज करेंगे इट मींस दैट दे हैव डिस्ट्रॉयड देयर होल करियर. जो कुछ भी उन्होंने पब्लिश किया, दे विल हैव टू रिट्रैक्ट इट. जो भी उनकी पोजीशंस हैं, पॉलिसीज हैं, दे विल हैव टू रिट्रैक्ट इट. आई मीन, इट्स लाइक आस्किंग दैट विल ममता बनर्जी वन डे गेट अप एंड से भी मैं आई वाज रॉन्ग ऑल माय लाइफ, or will Rahul Gandhi get up and say जो कुछ भी मैंने किया सब गलत ही था? It's not going to happen. People don't do that. What will happen if these jhatkas continue? What will happen is the next generation will think twice before following. Next generation जो जाएगी, वो या तो वहां जाएगी नहीं, जाएगी भी तो जाकर वो झगड़ा करेंगे, वो भी they will also have their movements, they will also, so जो वहां पर हिंदू हैं डरे हुए हैं, हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी है, और वहां पर दिवाली में वो किसी स्वामी को भी ले आते हैं, वहां दिया या जला देते हैं. दे डू ऑल दैट स्टफ, बट दे डोंट स्पीक अप, दे डू नॉट टॉक बैक, दे आर अफ्रेड. अब ये होगा कि ऐसे लोगों को चाहिए कि ये मौका मिला है, दे शुड बी द वंस हु शुड स्टार्ट देयर ओन प्रोसेशन. They should be the ones who should start their own panel discussion. Invite people like Vijaya and myself and others to say, okay, हम भी अपने लोगों को बुलाएंगे. They should do that. ऐसे होना चाहिए.
एक और इसी में और मैं इसमें फॉलो अप पूछूंगा कि हमारे यहाँ भारत में हमारा सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो है वो हार्वर्ड से बहुत ज्यादा प्रभावित दिखता है कई बार, लेकिन आज जो जजमेंट आया, टुडे वी हैड दिस जजमेंट ऑन सेम सेक्स मैरिज, एंड the Chief Justice of India was actually voted down. 3 against and 2 partially for, not fully, but yes, 2 were trying to put an agenda of intersectional discrimination and things. But it was voted down because 3 judges voted against it. तो ये भी एक मुझे लगता है कि एक सुखद संयोग कह सकते हैं इसको, हैप्पी कोइंसिडेंस.
चंद्रचूड talks about कि भी elitism को बंद करना चाहिए, and he quotes all this Suraj Jengde and Ajanta Subramaniam, he quotes them all the time. Critical race theory को भी quote करता रहता है. लेकिन he himself is elitist because his father, he's come from Harvard, और उसके father भी Harvard के थे, वो भी chief justice रहे हैं. I mean, when they talk about ancestral privilege, it means oppressor, तो वो भी oppressor ही हुए. I mean, he has to face that. He has never faced the fact that he's a product of elitist Harvard education and elitist parenting, and he's out there trying to pretend he's championing the underclass, but he's not underclass himself. So there is hypocrisy also. There is double talk and hypocrisy.
So the hypocrisy is something that you learn from Harvard, Sanjay ji. There is this fashion now in the US. ये लोग land acknowledgement of the indigenous people, right? Before any talk or any function, they give acknowledgement to the land and the people of the original peoples of the land. So the Harvard acknowledgement goes like this. Harvard University is located on the traditional and ancestral land of the Massachusetts, the original inhabitants of what is now known as Boston and Cambridge. We pay respect to the people of the Massachusetts tribe, past and present, and honor the land itself, which remains sacred to the Massachusetts people. Now, can you imagine this happening in Delhi or Karachi or somewhere else? And what would be, whether they would even consider doing something like that?
So I took that and I asked Harvard कि जो तुम्हारा ये मुंबई में Mahindra building के ऊपर there is a Harvard floor. Mahindra has given Piramal. It used to be Mahindra, by the way. I have visited that place, and he introduced me to the Anand Mahindra himself. Had lunch with me many years ago, and he introduced that he's giving a whole floor to the Harvard people, but maybe it's moved to Piramal. That whole place is on native land that was taken by the Portuguese, and then it was taken by the British. So that land, every time they have a Harvard meeting, in the same way that they're doing it in the USA, that they are saying this land used to once upon a time belong to the Native Americans and blah, blah, blah. And we are sorry for it, that we are occupying it and they should be belonging here. They should start every Harvard meeting at the Piramal Center by apologizing that we are now occupying a very elitist Piramal Center. It used to belong to the natives of India at one time, and these natives were plundered by the Portuguese who took the land and whatnot. So this business of talking like this, what irritates me is at least be honest. This whole showmanship that we are very liberal and we are very apologetic is also very selective. It's also very ideologically selective कि कहाँ पर apologize करना है, कहाँ पर नहीं करना.
जी बिल्कुल. तो अब we can go to questions and answers.
Please.
A lot of questions that people are asking, तो हम उनको ले लेते हैं. The first question that comes is Arunav Jha. Says, why Hindus become stupid when they get Ivy League education? It was shocking to see Hindu students of Harvard signing petition post-Hamas attack even before Israel could fathom the situation fully.
Yeah, I think it's an inferiority complex. Hindus have a deep inferiority complex. Hindus have become very tamasic. We praise our rishis, they were great. But today's Hindus are not like the rishis. They are living all kind of lifestyles. And so I would say it is tamasic lifestyle, bad education. They're not even understanding their own culture, heritage. Nobody taught them properly. And they have a deep inferiority complex. So they're trying to catch some, kind of follow somebody else for legitimacy. Somehow that is my feeling about Hindus who do these kind of things.
I also think the people that Hindu students or Indian students that get into Harvard are they have to show that they are an ally of some sort to the leftist cause. So if you actually see, especially these days, since there is this whole admissions bias towards Asian males, especially because female, at least you can say I'm studying engineering and become a female in STEM, and so you see this whole girls can code movement that every girl is starting a non-profit who wants to code. So this is the whole thing is a sham. But boys have a really hard time unless you get the math Olympiad or the physics Olympiad or something. Very hard to get into places like Harvard. So the unless you're a transgender or something like that. So in fact, if you can see the top people. In fact, the Gunguru guy I think is a transgender, the head of Gunguru or one of the Harvard students. So you see, especially you have to be left leaning and woke leaning and prove that you're an ally, a good ally of the left to even get admission in. It's just not marks. So so it's a selective process. So they select these kinds of people and then they groom them further.
Okay, next. Hardik Thakkar. By standing besides the terrorism or sympathizing or making it mild narrative every time, do you think Indian radicals and liberals are pushing Hindus to become like Jews? How much time before Hindus can act or react like the Jews?
Vijaya?
I'm not understanding the how much time before Hindus can act. Yeah, I think if it is hitting home. So when things hit, I had a very close friend who was telling me about a child that was raised with samskaras and all of that and went into college and ended up taking Sanskrit as a language, and then the parts of Sanskrit texts that were given were all the misogynistic part or the caste part of Ramayana, and those are the portions that are explained in this class. Now the guy was shocked, the father was shocked, saying I'm paying $50,000 for this education, and my child knows it, but others are learning this. And so when it comes home, and then there's another woman whose child has become transgender and they're dealing with that. So I think Hindus will take action only when it hits home. We are selfish people with no character. We don't do anything for Samaj as such, and that's the reality of it. That's why we are in the state that we are in. So I think when it hits home, like the caste bill in California, right? Now you end up being accused of discrimination when you had nothing to do with it. So it's come to your job. The transgenderism has come to your house. Your child is being manipulated. I think only then we will wake up, because we are selfish people, and unless it affects you personally, we don't take action.
Okay, next. RM. BJP under 56 milliliter is clueless and has zero narrative building capacity. 56 millimeter has a deep-rooted inferiority complex and constantly seeks Gora validation. At least Jews are doing a good job. So he's talking about Modi specifically.
Vijaya?
All the controversy. So I think we
see, I'm learning. Yeah, I'm learning.
The government is has bought this up fully, the Harvard narrative. That's why we're still sending our bureaucrats to America, to Harvard. We go by the QS listing. We're sending all our bureaucrats to be trained abroad. Like we don't have enough IIMs and intellectual power to train them at home. So I think it's true that our government is clueless, and they want to remain clueless. Because they just don't want to listen to any of this. Having said that, I know we're dealing with a lot of other complex issues as a nation. So there are a few things. For example, the Ashoka professor of economics was essentially, he had produced some research which had no backing. So he got laid off or fired or whatever. So that was happening.
Officially resigned.
Officially resigned, yeah. So and then NewsClick with Neville Roy Singham, that thing came up. So I think slowly they're also trying to do something, but there's just so much attack from everyone. I think at a personal level, more than looking at government for doing everything, I think we as individuals can do. We can educate our children better. We can stand up and support certain causes. So I think we should not look to government to solve all our problems. We should also step up, like how the Jews are stepping up, right? They're solving their own problems. They're not waiting for the Israeli government or some Jewish leadership to do anything.
So मेरा जो आंसर है इसका, मेरा आंसर कॉम्प्लेक्स आंसर है, कॉम्प्लिकेटेड आंसर है. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि कई कारण है. देयर आर मेनी कॉजेज, सिर्फ एक कारण नहीं है. यू कैन नॉट से देयर इज ओनली वन कॉज. सो एक तो कॉज ये है कि इंडिया डेमोक्रेसी है, तो वहां पर पावर लेने के लिए खूब सारी वोटें चाहिए. तो ये वोटों की कैलकुलेशन करते रहते हैं कि ये पॉलिसी होगी तो वो लोग नाराज हो जाएंगे, ये पॉलिसी होगी तो वो लोग सपोर्ट करेंगे. तो एक तो वो उनकी कैलकुलेशन है, विच आई एम श्योर ड्राइव्स बीजेपी थिंकिंग, एंड डेमोक्रेसी में तो होता ही है. दूसरी बात ये है कि आरएसएस which has the mandate of the public to take the lead as Hindu major umbrella organization and bring all kind of Hindu organizations, they have not done it. RSS का अपना ही method है, but they have not taken the intellectual leadership. They could have created many think tanks to solve all these problems. ये जो हिंदू फोबिया एक think tank होना चाहिए था उसके बारे में, ये अब जो critical race theory है उसके बारे में think tank होना चाहिए. इन चीजों के होने चाहिए think tanks, जैसे चर्च में है, बाकी कल्चर्स में है. तो आरएसएस हैज डन वेरी गुड वर्क इन द ग्रासरूट्स. बहुत अच्छा काम किया उन्होंने. लेकिन उन्होंने इंटरनेशनल ग्लोबल लेवल पर जो फॉरेन अफेयर्स हैं, इंडिया के जो फॉरेन अफेयर्स हैं, जहां पर आइडियोलॉजी चलती है, वहां पर उन्होंने इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग काम नहीं किया. क्योंकि एक तो बात यह है कि दे ओनली वांट देयर ओन पीपल. जो शाखा के प्रोडक्ट हैं, दे आर द ओनली पीपल हु विल बी गिवन इंपॉर्टेंट पोजीशंस. पीपल लाइक विजया और संजय और मी, हमको नहीं अंदर आने देंगे टॉप पोजीशन में. तो हमारी बात सुन लेंगे थोड़े सा टू सम एक्सटेंट, लेकिन जो उनके अपने लोग हैं वही काम करेंगे. तो ये जो लीडरशिप उनकी है वो अंदर से ही पैदा होगी, बाहर से नहीं लेके आएंगे. इसके कारण वो ज्यादा काम जो फॉरेन अफेयर्स का है वो नहीं कर पाए. क्योंकि फॉरेन इंटरनेशनल डिस्कशन में क्रिश्चियनिटी के बारे में, मार्क्सिज्म के बारे में, लेफ्टिज्म के बारे में, इस्लाम के बारे में, यू नीड एक्सपर्ट्स, नॉट शाखा प्रोडक्ट्स. यू नीड एक्सपर्ट्स जो यहाँ वहाँ के अलग अलग बैकग्राउंड के लोग हैं, उनको लाना पड़ेगा. वो नहीं ले आए. दे हैव नॉट ब्रॉट इन टैलेंट फ्रॉम आउटसाइड. दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम. ये तो दो हो गया, बीजेपी एंड आरएसएस. दे आर डूइंग गुड वर्क, बट दीज आर देयर लिमिटेशंस, यू माइट से. बट देन वी आर ऑल्सो, जो कॉलोनियल बैकग्राउंड है एजुकेशन सिस्टम की, वो बहुत ही डीप बैकग्राउंड है. वी हैव नॉट क्रिएटेड हिंदू स्कूल्स एंड हिंदू यूनिवर्सिटीज which have the same international stature, you know, like the old time जो अंग्रेजों ने शुरू किया था या leftist capture किया था, JNU type और अशोका type, इस तरह की. We Hindus have not created that. We have the money. The gurus are there. Why aren't they doing anything? So gurus जो हैं वो भी controversy में ज़्यादा नहीं आना चाहते. वो चाहते हैं कि controversy में नहीं करेंगे, आपको breathing सिखा देंगे, आपको meditation सिखा देंगे, peace की बात करेंगे तो शायद Nobel Prize मिल जाएगा. They are playing that game. So basically, none of the institutions that should have played a role to empower Hindus in a big way have played that role. So it is small time people like हम अपने, I can do only so much. I can do everything, whatever I am capable of. And so also Sanjay and Vijaya. And there are many others also like us. But we are, in the global scheme of things, we are not that big and not that powerful. You know, we are up against very powerful people like Harvard and many, many others. तो हमारे पीछे कोई इतनी बड़ी संस्था है नहीं, कोई इतनी बड़ी इंस्टीट्यूशन है नहीं जो हमको हेल्प कर सके. This is the reason why we are in trouble.
Anyway, and my remark, this 56 millimeter thing, well, you realize when you get Rahul Gandhi what this 56 millimeter is all about. So
I hope that never happens.
This.
I hope we never get Rahul Gandhi, because look, as far as Modi is concerned, we can find many flaws, but we have to say that there is no better option. He is the best available. There is nobody who's perfect. There is nobody who's perfect. हर एक में आप फायदा भी निकाल सकते हैं, नुकसान भी बता सकते हैं. But overall, what he has done in less than 10 years is quite remarkable. He has reversed things which were there for 75 years. And he is not perfect. And there are many things you could find wrong. But on the other hand, he has also done very tremendous good work. And there is nobody else who could have done better. That is the bottom line.
Right. Next one. It's a very long question. Mahabharatam question. Pranam Rajiv ji, Vijaya ji, Guru ji. Considering 70% of the internet is used for porn consumption, with all these webcams, young Indian women have started performing rampantly in many live cam websites. It's easy money. I believe internet is an invisible grave threat to Hinduism and our land. And GOI has to do something about it, at least banning live cam websites. We have a female president now. Your thoughts?
So, Vijay, what do you think?
So I think the best way to destroy a civilization is to capture the women and lead them astray. And this has happened in the name of feminism, which has come from the US. In fact, Kriya University, with Bill Gates funding, they're very concerned about women not going out to work. Why are so-called upper caste women sitting with family and taking care of kids while they should be participating in the labor force? So this all comes, it sounds like it's women's liberation and things like that, but the idea is to capture the women. And once you capture the women and lead them astray, then the culture is lost, the heritage is lost, the family is lost, everything is lost, and then it's easy to break up a civilization. So I think education is good. Which one thing I would like to complain about the Modi government is that we've done literally nothing on the education front. So we have to capture the young people. The people who are now doing pornography on the internet, we can't do anything about them, but we can educate our girls and our younger generation in the right way. And I think we haven't done that. Many of the other civilizations, the Western civilization, they have, parochial schools, they have private schools. The Jewish people have Jewish schools, whereas we don't have anything. And I can firsthand tell you that we've started Agastya Gurukulam, you know Sanjay ji, but
Yes.
we literally have to be pouring in money, but we literally have to force people to think and educate them and tell them, send your kids, and we will start from the ground up. So I think that is lacking. I think the best way, hands down, whether it is the missionaries, they've always captured women.
But the last I heard was that Agastya Gurukulam has a long waiting list.
I wish. We've started some schools now, one in Bangalore and one in Houston, face-to-face school, a brick and mortar setup. But we want people to say, hey, this is good education, because this will actually, we teach rational Indic knowledge systems. Rajiv ji had funded this history, the HIST series, of getting into Indic knowledge systems and publishing that a while ago. And it's taken this long to even get a school that just teaches Indic knowledge systems, along with Ganita Shastram, with modern mathematics, all of that. But still, people, we have to educate them and literally sell it to them as a concept. So, but it'll come soon, because the schools are so bad now in America and elsewhere that you will soon realize that the children are being indoctrinated into the trans agenda in schools. Even in India, this is happening. In fact, we're working on a book on education, Rajiv ji and myself and Anurag. So we'll bring out all of this, and that will scare everybody. They will be absolutely amazed at the things that is in the pipeline for their children in regular schools. So maybe that will be the wake up call.
Okay, next is Avinag. Namaste to all. Rajiv ji, what are your expectations from people like Anand Mahindra, Narayan Murthy, and Lakshmi Mittal, who are donors to Harvard? I think you touched it, but if you want to add anything.
No, my expectations are not realistic, because they're not going to listen to my expectations. But just to answer your question, my expectation would be that they should pick up the phone. They should contact the people who run their center at Harvard with their Mahindra name and Mittal name and so on. And they should say, listen, there is a whole chapter on us at Harvard written in this book, Snakes in the Ganga. What do you think of it? Give me your response. And I'm going to call Rajiv Malhotra and Vijaya Vishwanathan together with you. You are running my center with my name on it, and they are criticizing it. I want to hear both sides, because I'm a logical man. I'm a fair person. I don't believe them. I don't believe you. Let us have a conversation. And we will either do it privately in my office, and both sides can speak, and I will decide, or we can do it in public. We can have a public forum where we will have a debate on Mahindra at Harvard, and we can bring in the Mahindra people and we can bring in the critics. That is what I expect of them. I don't expect that they should believe us at face value and cancel their tens of millions of dollars, nor do I think they should cancel us, which is what they have done, ignore us and continue like life is business as usual. I think it's a disgrace to people who've made their money on as products of India, and who are awarded and rewarded by the Indian government and by the Indian consumers as though they are big champions of Indian civilization. It is a disgrace that that in a foreign country they're doing all this against India, against our culture, and they can't pretend anymore that we didn't know, we were too busy, I didn't know this is happening, because we've made it clear. We've written it in such a way that it is not ignorable. I have gone to Mumbai and spoken in their city. I know people who have contacted their board members. I know people who have written letters to Mahindra and letters to Piramal, letters to all these people, letters to the Reliance people, all of them, Ambani's. I have written, and there has been no response. A major guru, Sri Ravi Shankar, he called me to North Carolina when he was visiting through somebody that he wanted to see me, talk to me, understand all this. I went and spent a lot of time. A little bit was on camera, which was very general, but some of it was off camera, where I told him, I said, Guru Dev, you have to do something about these billionaires. So he said, tell me, write me a letter and tell me exactly what the issues are, and I will send it to Anand Mahindra, and I can arrange a meeting with him. I have sent it to him, and there has been no such meeting arranged. So, I don't know what else I could do. I can go public, which I have. I can put pressure on them, which I'm doing. I've gone through the gurus. I've gone through the media.
I think sustained pressure, the kind that we are putting, it will work sooner or later.
I think
one more thing.
Eventually,
things are much better than what they were last 5 years. At least that much we can agree.
I agree, and I have a feeling that they will not admit, because it's too embarrassing for people. People with big egos will never admit they are wrong. So what they'll probably do is tell their person who's the director of Mahindra Center or whatever, that be careful of these people. Don't do so much blatantly. Maybe you don't want to bring Khalistanis, and you don't want to bring in Kashmir separatists, and you want to be very careful. I don't think that they will go against those people, the Breaking India forces. I don't, which is what they should be doing. They should be going against they should be India's ambassadors in Harvard, having invested and created an institutional footprint. They should be India's cultural ambassadors, fighting for India and fighting against the other people in Harvard. That's what their job should be. I don't think they'll go do that. They don't have that much courage. But maybe they'll mellow down their anti-India talk.
Okay.
But Rajiv, I think this could also happen. Rajiv was mentioning in another interview that India supplies Harvard with a lot of English-speaking intellectual people, which is the woke army of scholars, which are also affecting Jews and the left's woke scholarship in general. So maybe the Jewish business guys will put pressure on the Indian billionaires, saying, "Hey, you want to be in our club, you better stop this." So that might happen too.
Right. I think there's also the need for probably the government or some serious institution to give a ranking of Hindu phobia to various universities.
But one thing I'll tell you,
regulate them by an immigration or exit control.
Yeah, one thing along those lines, Sanjay, the Vice President of India has publicly on two occasions, once in Hindi and once in English, and I have those videos. We need to bring them out. He has gone out and said, without mentioning Mahindra by name, without mentioning our book by name, he has said, it has come to my attention that Indian billionaires, and he used that term, Indian billionaires are funding major institutions overseas, places like Harvard, in ways that are anti-India, and this should stop. He has said that twice. So, our message has reached certain people. Now, whether this kind of
let's move on, Rajivji. I think we have spent a lot of time on this question. Let's move on. Okay, Rohit, when Hindus targeted Jews were funding, Hindus are supporting them. We stopped seeing things in black and white. Islamists are only covering Jews shit. Okay, it's a statement. I think we'll take it as that. Lata Sharma, thank you, Lataji. Chandrasekhar, please publish a list of donors to woke universities and organizations. Okay, good suggestion. We'll try and do that. Pads, please don't blame gurus about whom you know nothing. My way or highway won't do. There are different smooth ways of getting results. Educate yourself about the end results. Rajiv ji?
So please, I don't know anything. Maybe I know nothing. But Shri Shri Guruji, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar invited me. Maybe he's a fool and he invited the wrong person. He should have invited you, the person who's asking the question, because obviously you know more. But anyway, he invited me and he wanted to hear what I have to say, because many of his board members and many of his close people said that there is issues going on you should hear about. And Sri Ji knows me for 25 years. We've met each other many times. So anyway, whether I know anything or not, the point is we do have a relationship. He wanted to hear, so I told him. And that is that, and he promised that he will do something. And he probably did something, but the other side didn't listen. So whether this is right or wrong, you please go and tell the guru that you should not have called Rajiv Malhotra, and you should, even if he told you this, you should not have asked him to write you a letter. And if he wrote you this letter, you should not be trying to lobby with Mahindra. You go and educate the guru since you know better. But I did what the guru wanted. I did what the guru wanted me to do.
Okay. Right. Next one. Navajyoti Bhattacharya. Rajiv sir, I speak about being different in every conversation I have with people. It's condensed. Feminism will destroy India. We could stand on foreign invasions. I think he wants to say we could withstand foreign invasions because we had spirited people.
Good. Thank you very much for supporting the book.
Jyotirmay Das, ACYYPL, American Council of Young Political Leaders. I don't know what he wants to say. RP, supporting Jews fine. We must also analyze how they control Western media, government, academia, and wield power. Hindus must replicate it. How powerful? ADL, AIPAC. What's that? I don't know.
ADL is American Anti-Defamation League. It's a Jewish organization, Anti-Defamation League. It's one of the 2 or 3 major Jewish organizations. The comment is correct. They have got their stuff together. We don't have it together the way they do. Their billionaires support these organizations. Their rabbis, similar to our gurus, support these organizations. And their intellectuals support these organizations. When Israel is under threat or when there is anti-Jewish stuff going on, they all come together. We don't have that organization yet.
Neil Sinha, sir, for Hindus to assert any power, block voting is important, like Gurudwara and mosque. Without that, nothing can happen. Do you see a way our temples doing that job, and what needs to be changed?
Vijaya?
I don't think Hindus will ever vote as a bloc. I think it has its advantages as well, but we are not people of one book, one religious institution, and we all do our individual thing. So this will not happen. In fact, the only change that will happen is when each one of us wakes up when something happens to us. When we go to work and we are they tell us that we are being casteist and blame us for something like that, or our children come back home being indoctrinated into the trans agenda or whatever it might be, it has to personally hurt us. Only then we wake up. So in a way, all this is good, because this is the only way the Hindu wakes up from his slumber.
Next. Nirmay Apankar, please try to contact Anant Ambani. He is hardcore Hindu. If we are able to convince him, it will help Hindus as well as him as savior of Hindu cause.
Well, I think he should contact Anant Ambani because he knows him and ask him to meet us. We have tried, the entire Ambani family. Nobody has met us. They have got this person, what's his name? The gentleman who is this mythologist.
Devdutt.
Devdutt Patnaik
He's
is
a
a
joke.
Reliance, but he's a Reliance. We exposed him, but he's a Reliance funded guy. So, you can say somebody is a good Hindu. I know a lot of people are good Hindu. They do puja, they celebrate Diwali, they want blessings. But when it comes to sticking their neck out, paying a price and saying something controversial to protect the dharma, they are not willing to go that far. So my threshold is not whether you are a good Hindu or not a good Hindu in your private life. You may well be. But in your public posture, are you willing to stick your neck out, say something on the matter of principles, which may or may not be popular? Are you willing to do that? If Anant, is willing to do that, then more power to him. I would love to meet him. You get me an invitation, you get me a meeting. I'll fly to Mumbai tomorrow, anytime, anywhere, and meet him if you can arrange that. Thank you.
Sure. That's a challenge to you, Mr. Nirmay. Kaushik, the bureaucracy holds the system to ransom. Media and judiciary also, Rajiv ji, Sanjay ji, want to start a narrative and campaign about education. I am an entrepreneur and AI expert, innovator, looking for a suitable ecosystem. Please write to us. You have our WhatsApp number displayed there below the screen. It's running there. You can just send us a message and connect to us. Lathia Pachpan. 90% of online jihad is done through Instagram. Time to ban Instagram. Soft porn, mazhabi men and Hindu women is rampant in Instagram. Your views?
What do you think, Vijaya?
I'm not on social media, so I'm not qualified to comment on any of this.
Well, he's making a statement which is true. I mean, there's a lot of porn, soft porn, all kind of, basically social media is catering to the lower instincts of human beings. Because there's no accountability, you can't track, we don't know who's doing it. So whatever sells, and what tends to sell is the lower instincts, what people desire, these kind of rampant desires of people. So that is the nature, it's a reflection on what the public wants. And that's what, unfortunately, the public wants. The more serious and intellectual and high quality thing, the less demand there is. That's just the nature of things. You could also say, why is there less demand for milk and more demand for liquor? Why? Why is there more demand for junk food and less demand for good nutrition, sattvic food, which may not be as tasty? Although I know very tasty sattvic food also, but there is more demand for, so whether it is any kind of product, whether it's a mental product, emotional product, taste product, whatever, there is more demand for what satisfies the desires, the senses.
Okay, Yodha Singh, Namaste Rajiv sir. You are the OG Hindutva warrior for folks like me. आपको स्वास्थ्य और लंबी आयु मिले. Next is.
Thank you very much, but I think too much lambi ayu is also a problem for me. So I just want enough ayu to do my job and be healthy and happy, and then when it's time to go, I'm happy to go.
Rohit, Sanjay ji, are you going to start a campaign against billionaires funding anti-India in the coming conclave? Well, not exactly in those terms, but certainly by implication and by insinuation, if we could.
Good.
Okay, with that, we come to the end of this wonderful talk. And thank you very much, Rajiv ji. Thank you, Vijaya ji, for enabling this. And
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sanjay.
and happy Navratri to you and all your viewers.
Happy Navratri
to you
everybody.
Also.
Wonderful. Namaste, everybody.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.